Well, hello everyone, and welcome to More Than Able podcast. I'm Margie, and I'm here today with John, who is on the board for the American Brain Foundation. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Margie.
I like to start my episodes off with a game of Would You Rather. Are you interested?
Do you mean would I rather do the rather or do the rather? I'll do the would you rather. Okay, I'll play.
Okay, yes. So, would you rather have a pause button or rewind button on your life?
I want a pause button or a rewind button on my life. I'm gonna go for the pause button. And would you like to know why?
Yes, please, if you wouldn't
I
mind.
figured that was your next question. I think in people's lives, everything that's happened before them leads to exactly right where they are. And I love where I am. So, and frankly, I feel like I'm about 25 years old still, so I'd probably hit the pause button because I'm heading to 60. So I'd like to stay around. I'd pause it.
Nice. I would choose the rewind button myself to go back in time to when I was a baby because I'm interested in seeing like how I was when I was a baby.
Well,
So
I remember that.
that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
Um, Second, would you rather question? Would you rather Danny DeVito or Danny Trejo play you in a movie?
What did you formulate that with anything in mind specifically for me, or is that a question everybody gets, Margie?
Yes, yes, because you are like you are you've been around movie stars.
All
Come on,
right, I'm gonna take Trejo. I
I
think
could see that. That's a
Right,
great choice.
he's kind of a tough guy. He's a character, but I'm not that tough, but,
Hmm.
if it's in a movie, I wanna be as tough as I can, right?
Exactly. See, I would choose Danny DeVito
For
because
me?
we're both short and no, for me, I would choose Danny DeVito
Okay.
because we're both short and I think I think I'm funny.
Who would you pick for me, Margie?
I picked Danny Trejo all the way.
Thank you.
Although although you're more of a John Stamos type to me.
Oh, boy.
I feel like I I mean you're like pivotal Uncle Jesse.
I love that.
Well, that was fun. Let's
Mhm.
learn more about you and the American Brain Foundation.
Okay.
So, what is the American Brain Foundation?
Well, the American Brain Foundation really, it's a nonprofit, as I know you know, and it does some very important work. And that important work is really with the intention of advancing the understanding and the treatment of brain diseases. So it's a very general overview, but it does that through research funding. And of course, we know that in order to conquer these things, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, epilepsy, strokes, among a thousand others, um, you know how important it is to get that research uh, done in order to absolutely conquer these things. So the American Brain Foundation funds those efforts through grants to scientists, clinicians, and other organizations that are really innovative in the way they approach the dispersion of brain disease.
That's so amazing and very, very important right now, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, and what's really important is that this research just doesn't sort of sit in a periodical, but it really needs to lead to real world treatments for people with brain diseases. Um, and then, of course, also as importantly, is increasing awareness about brain health and the importance of research in that regard.
So amazing. Thank you for sharing. How
Yes,
did you get involved with this foundation?
I think you know that in my family, brain disease is not a stranger. We
No.
have obviously Alzheimer's and dementia. Many of our family members have been afflicted by those things. And of course, when that happens, when you have a personal experience, you really do get a little bit closer to wanting to help an organization like this. And so I'm always on the search to figure out how I can make a difference in the communities that are affected with similar challenges than I had. So I sought out the American Brain Foundation through a friend and uh, talked about my experience, and then after that, they asked me to join the board.
Yeah, fantastic. And side note or side question, how long have you been on the board for the Brain Foundation?
I've been on the board for about a year and a half, and I've had the pleasure of working with some amazing people. There's The board is primarily uh, constructed from clinicians and doctors who are all experts in their field. So I kind of feel like the dumbest one there. All these people are super smart, and my role is really more of a development role and raising awareness and that kind of thing, and trying to support in the ways I can that maybe clinicians don't have the time to do.
Wow, inspiring. Okay, so what is your job title?
At the American Brain Foundation,
Yes.
well, the way boards are constructed with nonprofit uh, entities, they essentially have uh, a general board. So I would be called a board member of the American Brain Foundation, but they also have committees. And each of those committees serves a different role for the larger organization. So, because of my background in finance and numbers and the investment side, I'm on the financial committee. So, my title would be board member and finance committee member. So, um, it's easier to break up those boards into smaller groups to address things like um, uh, making sure that the financials reflect exactly what's going on in the entity, overseeing the investments when people make donations. That money needs to be invested on behalf of the organization. So I try to keep tabs on that and make suggestions on how might be able to improve things. And so we're the board, and hopefully we're helping the organization as a whole.
Well, thank you for being on the board. And like you said, with our family history and your experience, I'm sure you bring a lot of knowledge to the team, and
You
I'm
know,
sure they're very grateful for you.
and it's really interesting, to be on the board um, of an organization like this. It's more about having an understanding of the effect that these conditions can have on people, the real human side of the whole thing, to have that empathy to understand and realize the importance. Because when people think of brain disease, they don't necessarily they think of Alzheimer's, they think of Parkinson's, they think of epilepsy, among many others, but typically they don't think about a concussion as a brain disease. But a concussion is a brain disease. We all know
Right,
that. But
right.
people don't necessarily think of brain disease in that way. And so the reach is far beyond those conditions that are genetic or inherited. It goes. We have a common friend who's a professional football player, retired, who had four
Mhm.
concussions
Mhm.
and is now exhibiting signs of dementia.
Mhm.
And so he was an ambassador for the American Brain Foundation for a number of years, and he again he had the experience and therefore has the empathy, and that's what counts when you're working with a nonprofit like the American Brain Foundation.
Absolutely.
Now, and of course, the mission is to eliminate brain disease in total,
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
through the
Very
research and
important.
education. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you just kind of touched on that, but in your opinion, how does the American Brain Foundation's research and development help change people's lives?
Well, as you know, we all need to keep up on research. Just like
Mhm.
it's like the Heart Institute, for example,
Mhm.
the Heart Institute Foundation in Minneapolis. Um, they do fantastic work in research. They would be the heart equivalent of the American Brain Foundation. So funding this research and being on the cutting edge at all times is critical. You're not going to make any, and it's a long, long, long process. The stuff isn't easy. And if you want a world without brain disease, you need the researchers to get to that moment where there's a breakthrough. And when that breakthrough happens, that's how the people who are afflicted with these diseases are helped, and not just in the present, but you know looking 30 years ahead as well. So it's not just people that are touched right now, but people that will be touched 30 years from now.
So inspiring. I know, like, with my, I guess you could call it like a brain disease or a traumatic brain injury, hydrocephalus, they're still doing research as
Hmm.
well. And I'm just, I've learned so much from my experiences and everything I've gone through with how a hydrocephalus brain works.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm. Well, and I can tell you that, and this probably wouldn't surprise you, but you were much part of my inspiration to get involved with the American Brain Foundation.
oh,
You know
John.
that. Yeah. Um, seeing it's an incredible story, Margie. I mean, there was a point where people said you wouldn't walk. They
Or talk.
said that you wouldn't talk. They said this and that. And I've witnessed a miracle. And part of that miracle
Oh my
is
gosh, you're gonna make me cry.
part of that miracle happened because of the support that people give to the American Brain Foundation in order to make advancements in how to treat and prevent your condition. And
Absolutely.
so it was kind of a double whammy. It was our family with the Alzheimer's and dementia issues,
Mhm.
but also you. I mean, I've seen it.
1% hydrocephalus.
Yeah, yeah. But you were very much an inspiration to me as well.
Well, thank you. You're an inspiration to me as well. I tell people all the time, like you're like my uncle. You're like my own personal Uncle Jesse from Full House.
You keep going back to John Stamos.
Well, I can't.
I like it.
Okay,
I like
getting
it.
back on topic. Um, so what is commitment for cures?
Well, Commitment for Cures is our gala that we do annually. And this year it's on May 25th, I believe, in San Diego, or I'm sorry, April 25th in San Diego. And it's the biggest fundraiser of the year. Uh, it usually involves somebody who's famous in the music world. It's a great event, and of course, you can imagine that um, just like people who aren't movie stars and who aren't music stars, there's brain disease that's prevalent. So, a lot of these entertainers that come to help us raise money also have that empathy that I was talking about before. Uh, and even in some other endeavors that I have, PTSD. These are all things that the American Brain Foundation, um, really seeks to eliminate. So um, the Commitment to Cures it's the biggest fundraiser we do all year, and do. I think we're going to do a smaller one this year as well, but we'll see.
Can you share who the musical guest is going to be?
No, it's still a
Oh,
surprise.
come on.
No, I'll figure. I'll tell you what, when I know for sure, I'll let you know. But
And
uh,
I promise I will keep it a secret.
all right, that sounds good. I'll tell
Because
you.
you know me, I love music. So,
I I know you do. I love music too.
okay. Um, so how can people get involved with the American Brain Foundation and like intertwined with that question, what advice do you have for people who would be interested?
Yeah, that's such a big question. You know, how can people get involved? Because people want to volunteer. They want to give of themselves, and they want to volunteer time, whether that's time for to volunteer at an event, uh, maybe be involved volunteering somewhere in the research tree, where tasks need to be done. Obviously, not doing the research itself, but there's many ways to volunteer, and then there's of course giving money as well. But and every organization like the American Brain Foundation needs to be supported financially, and that doesn't mean with $100 necessarily, or even $50, but um, whatever is comfortable and whatever you think can make an impact for you, and that can be done, I'm sure, through the website. And I believe that I believe that when you have a grassroots effort, $25 at a time can be a big thing and makes a big difference for the American Brain Foundation.
A little bit goes a long way.
That is for sure. That is for sure.
Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of step away from the American Brain Foundation for just a question. When you're not working, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh boy. Well, you know the answer to this already.
I do,
I'm
but
a
for
singer.
people who don't know you,
I'm a singer. I'm a but don't tell anyone. No one actually wants to see it, but I love to sing and I love music. That's what I do most often. And in all honesty, a lot of what I like to do for fun has to do with volunteering for nonprofit organizations. It's very rewarding to me. I don't mind working on it in the weekends. Uh, I love helping families make choices as to where their giving could take place, and that's fun for me. There's so many good causes out there. but the American Brain Foundation happens to be a priority for me. But so music, I don't advise anyone to watch me do it. You've seen me do it, and sometimes it can. I get a little. Aggressive with that microphone. You're laughing.
No, I'm not. I do have videos, but because you're my uncle and I love you and I want to keep our relationship good, I will not post any videos, nor will I share any videos with anybody.
Well, and we need to be careful, because all the licensing rights on my video,
Yeah. Oh,
people,
yeah. And then there's that. You
yeah, I
gotta
mean,
be careful with that.
yeah, I don't do that for free, Margie.
No, you don't. I
Yeah,
mean, you got stuff coming up that you need to keep
yeah,
your money for.
exactly. Margie, would you like to meet some people at the American Brain Foundation sometime?
I would love to. Yes,
I-
absolutely.
I've told them about you, and we
Oh
were trying.
gosh. Good things, I hope.
Good things, good things, and you'd be an inspiration to anybody who's listening to the story of the American Brain Foundation.
Well, and I feel like this is going to be an inspiration to a lot of people who maybe don't know about the American Brain Foundation. My last question for you, and I like to ask all my guests this, I haven't done it in a while, but I wanted to bring this back. When you think of the term more than able, what does that mean to you, John?
To me, more than able is a way to describe the effort to uh, make people aware that people with brain diseases, they can not only just be able to do something, but to excel and to reach far beyond just being able to do something, just like you have. I think the person that they said would never walk and never talk is doing a podcast. That's more than able, Margie. That's a lot more than able.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you. So that's all the time we have for today. Thank
Okay.
you, John, for coming on the show. You can find more information on the American Brain Foundation's website. And John, you can help me with this if I get it wrong. AmericanBrainFoundation.org.
Correct.
And tune in next time to find out what I'm talking about. And just remember, you are more than able. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Margie. Thanks for having me.